Good evening. This is student meteorologist Elizabeth Temple, and welcome to Friday edition of FSU Weather. First look over Doak Campbell Stadium right now. The sun is setting, but it might be kind of hard to see as we see some storms rolling through this weekend. We're starting to get some of that cloud cover. It is 63 degrees right now and a slight breeze out of the northwest at 3 miles an hour. Across the rest of the Big Bend, we have lower 60s and actually 59 in Thomasville and a little bit warmer. Actually, that is different than what I practiced earlier. It is 63 now by the coast and 67 in Perry. Taking a look at that weekend rain, we're starting to see this come through, and this is by Sunday afternoon. We'll see those showers pass through and heavy rainfall might be expected. And in case you were wondering about orographic lifting, that is what we will be talking about today, as well as our weekend rain, and it actually cooled down a little bit today. All of that and more tonight on FSU Weather.
Good evening and welcome back into FSC Weather. I hope you had a great Friday and happy Friday. This is our first Friday show of the spring semester, and you know, it was truly a beautiful day outside. Yesterday we had a warm one reaching a record high of 84 degrees. Around this time of year we are typically in the mid. We trended 20 degrees warmer than average, but today has fared much better in terms of temperature, and we're going to see those comfortable conditions persist until about the afternoon on Saturday. Now Saturday we can start to see more unsettled weather, and on Sunday we are going to possibly experience some showers and storms. So if you have any weekend plans, I would say that tonight would be a great night to enjoy the outdoors. We are going to experience some slight cloud cover and temperatures will drop down, but all in all, it will be a beautiful night for any plans that you have. Now, this weekend, as I mentioned, those storms will start to roll through on Saturday, and on Sunday, we can experience a potential marginal risk for showers and storms, but we'll have more on that as the show progresses. Now, as for the rest of the show, right now I'm going to take you back to the wall, and Melissa's going to give us a look at what's going on in Tallahassee.
Thanks, Monique. Today was an absolutely beautiful day outside, getting into the high 60s, maybe the low 70s in a couple areas. But right now, sticking with those nice conditions, 63 degrees and partly cloudy. Those clouds are starting to move in, but most of the day was absolutely gorgeous. No clouds to be seen. Beautiful day here in Tallahassee. As for the res, again, those clouds are again setting in ahead of our system that it will be coming through this weekend. 68 degrees, so a little warmer over at the res, and still a little bit of a breeze coming through, cooling things off a little bit more. For Panama City, again, cloudy skies, a little bit warmer, 67 degrees, and partly cloudy, a breeze coming through there as well. Our almanac, yesterday we did have a record high. Today we didn't quite have that. 70 degrees as our high today, 80 is our record. So didn't set a record today, thankfully. Had some really nice conditions, and still above our record low, thankfully, because 16 degrees is too cold for me. But as for our radar, clear skies across Tallahassee right now. Some clouds beginning to set in, which isn't showing, but no rainfall at this time to be worried about. Current temperatures, seeing, again, those mid-60s, starting to dip down into the 50s as we start getting that sun going down, getting into those cooler conditions, and that's going to continue for the next couple hours. Current dew points, staying pretty dry, 38 in Tallahassee, 43 in Quincy. Seeing 30s, and then a little bit higher down at the coast near that water, 55 in Apalachicola, but again, pretty nice conditions, not seeing those humid spring conditions setting in just yet. For tonight, dropping down into the 40s, so you're going to need your heat tonight, but tomorrow we'll be warming right back up. Future radar, again, that cloud cover is going to continue to come in, continue to cover us, and we will have those showers coming in shortly behind, starting this weekend and going slightly into next week. For tomorrow, as I said, warming right back up, 65 in Tallahassee, 63 in Sopchoppy, 60s pretty much across the entire forecast area. So again, nice conditions, cooler conditions, still getting to enjoy kind of those springtime conditions, but still getting out of winter. Tonight, 47 degrees and mostly cloudy as again that front begins to move in. So if you are a native Floridian and you don't like the cold, you may want to grab a sweater before going out tonight. But for tomorrow, warming back up to 65, and we'll probably see a chance of those showers starting once again for tomorrow. As for our 7-day forecast, again, 40 degrees, 40% chance of rain tomorrow, having mostly cloud cover, not as much rain. 62, warming up as we have a warm front come in ahead of our cold front, warming up to 72 with 80% chance of rain. Little break from the rain, and then raining again as we have a cold front coming through, dropping those temperatures down to the 50s and 37 at night. We thought we've seen the end of the 30s, but not quite yet. We're still going to have those cooler conditions that are going to be staying around a little bit longer, so make sure you still have your sweaters handy and you don't pack them up just yet. But we're going to hand things over to Chandler to take a look at the rest of the state.
That's right. Yes, rain and sunshine state, that makes a whole lot of sense, right? Well, right now we are still actually the sunshine state with mostly clear conditions across the whole entire state of Florida, including both the Panhandle and the Peninsula. We have some rain showers off to our west and north, and we'll talk about some of the showers that will be making their way through the state here shortly. But right now, Pensacola, it's beautiful conditions. Look at that nice sky. Of course, there's a little bit of clouds associated with that system, but 61 degrees, pretty enjoyable with just a little bit of a breeze, 3 miles per hour, pretty much undetectable. Again, with that Panhandle radar, really shows clear conditions until you really start to travel along I-10 towards New Orleans. But again, if you are at all in the Florida Panhandle, it's beautiful conditions all around. Now, migrating, you see nice, beautiful sky again in Daytona Beach, 76 degrees, partly cloudy skies, with, again, a nice light breeze east-northeast at 5 miles an hour. So again, in Central Florida, the same thing as North Florida, pretty enjoyable conditions overall. And the same story about that satellite and radar. Again, a few small little specks possible over here, but again, that's not really noticeable if you are actually on the ground in Daytona Beach. As for Fort Lauderdale, again, nice, beautiful conditions. Cloudy a little bit, but 81 degrees, a little bit warmer, of course, as we get farther south. And some winds, again, 6 miles per hour. Pretty much the same story across the whole entire state, though just a little bit warmer as you get further south. And again, South Florida radar shows pretty clear conditions with the exception of off the coast of Fort Myers. We have a little bit of a rain system that's developing, and it will create a little bit of rain going into tomorrow. So that's something we'll keep an eye on and highlight here in a second. But current conditions, again, as I mentioned, 60s up in the north, 70s in the central Florida region, and then as you get down towards South Florida, you approach that 80-degree mark. But overall, pretty enjoyable conditions, especially for the North Florida region, which saw that cold front pass through, and we're much drier than compared to our South Florida and Central Florida counterparts. Tonight in Florida, again, pretty enjoyable conditions overall throughout the whole entire state. I mean, we have a little bit of those clouds building up into the South Florida region, but overall, it's something we can enjoy. Futurecast, again, shows some of this precipitation that will start to make its way towards the Central Florida region and provide a little bit of that cloud cover and moisture, but overall not a washout. For tomorrow's forecast, again, pretty enjoyable and repetitive conditions. We'll get a little bit warmer in South Florida, but overall great conditions. Now we'll shift things off to the southeast to talk more about the larger pattern.
Yes, thank you so much, Chandler. Looking at the southeast right now in Nashville, you can see the effects of that cold front. 45 currently in Nashville. Clear skies, however. New Orleans, we have temperatures in the upper 50s, mid 50s in Charlotte, and a little warmer in Tampa with temperatures in the mid 70s. So it's beautiful right now, and you can see that sun is starting to set across the southeast. And with the southeast, we are really going to have a mini educational segment about cold fronts because we are going to see the effects of that cold front. Right here behind this frontal passage, we have that cooler and drier air. We also have that more unsettled weather and pattern or activity over New Orleans right now, and they're seeing the effects of that frontal passage. Now, ahead of the front, we typically have warmer and more humid air, and you can see right here, right now in Miami, we're going to see the effects of that cold front. Temperatures right now in Miami are slightly warmer than behind that front. Temperatures from Tampa down to Miami are in the mid to upper 70s. Now behind that front, we have temperatures in the 60s in Tallahassee, 56 right now in Montgomery, and 53 in Atlanta. So again, we are going to see the effects of that front, and with those winds shifting from the north towards Birmingham and Atlanta, we can see that right here along this frontal boundary is when these winds start to shift from the south, right there in Miami, are slightly gustier behind the front, and we are going to see that as we progress into our 30-hour forecast. Now we are going to see those to bump in Tallahassee on Saturday. Our weather will start to get unsettled by Saturday, and by Sunday we can see heavier rain. And you can see right here this rainfall accumulation will be somewhat significant in the Tallahassee area, Atlanta as well, and those temperatures will start to cool down. 46 by Sunday morning in Atlanta, 59 in Tallahassee, and 53 in Savannah. So we're going to see the effect of that front and that low pressure moving through our area by this week. By our muggy cast, we can see that behind that front, we are going to see that drier air kind of make its way out, and we are going to experience much muggier conditions by Sunday in Tallahassee. That dew point will be at 64 degrees, so we're going to see much muggier conditions than what we're seeing currently. Now, if you're headed out to Charlotte this weekend, you can see by Sunday that 100% chance of rain is going to cool those temperatures down to the mid-40s. Now, by Monday, those temperatures will slightly rebound, reaching the lower 50s. By Tuesday, we will see temperatures reach the 50s again. Nashville will see a similar forecast with temperatures in the 40s. So now we're going to take it back into our next segment, and we're going to look at the national.
That's right. We can zoom out and really take a look at more of that big pattern like I was saying. You guys can't get rid of me yet. We'll go back here and look at the surface map real quick. So as Monique was mentioning, we have that frontal system that passed through Florida, and it's kind of stalled in the central Florida region. Again, that's where all those showers are, and they will cause a little mischief later on this weekend. We have two other systems that we can note. We have this system over here in the South Mississippi River Valley region, and then we have another system over in the South Rockies. So again, and we have this system that brought us that rain earlier this week that is finally making its way off the East Coast and providing a little bit of snow showers for the Northeast as well. But again, that water vapor radar really shows that we have a little bit of that moisture again in the Gulf region. But when we go over to the west, we see a little bit more drier conditions as a result of these frontal systems. But overall, we have a decent amount of dynamic driven weather going on across the state. Current national temperatures, again, kind of the story so far this week has been warmer conditions in the south, cooler conditions in the west. However, it is a little bit cooler than what we have seen in previous days. We are a little bit cooler just because of that front that passed through. And same thing with those dew points. Again, bumped those dew points down in the southeast to a little bit more reasonable conditions for this time of year. Again, the west, though, staying dry like they usually are about this time of year. Those temperature anomalies, well, we saw a lot of red here earlier this week, but it's a little bit more close to normal. However, we still see a little bit warmer conditions along the East Coast than what we would normally expect. Some of that might have to do with some of the clouds after that frontal passage. We also have much cooler conditions over in the west. Now, for our minimum temperature anomalies, we're a little bit warmer across the whole entire region, which can be associated with that climate change aspect, which again is just causing us to get a little bit warmer at night, staying warm instead of cooling down as much as we should at this time of year. With our drought monitor, again, we're pretty dry here in the Central Plains as we have been for the last few weeks, but conditions have improved across the west associated with all that moisture that we've seen in the past few weeks, which have helped build up that snowpack and filled up those water reservoirs. But over here in the southeast, we also have a drought that is developing, and it's actually impacting Tallahassee directly, as well as most of the Big Bend region. Quite a bad system indeed, or bad conditions indeed. However, the system that we have off to the west will provide some relief in the form of precipitation. Again, as was mentioned earlier by Wanique, we have these rain showers off into the west that will provide some moisture later on. And again, like I mentioned, there's snow off to the northeast that was associated with that previous cold front system. With the northwest, pretty dry conditions with some clouds developing in. And then we have this other South Rocky system that's providing some snow showers, but overall, not really a washout except for those in the actual mountains. For overnight temperatures, we can expect pretty cool conditions across the area, and with the exception being most of the southeast still staying relatively warm. But it's pretty beautiful conditions overall. And one thing we would like to highlight is the severe weather outlook in Tallahassee, where we have a marginal risk on Sunday. Like Wanique mentioned, there will be a system kind of developing throughout the weekend, providing a lot of rain showers, and we could see that provide a major impact for Tallahassee in the form of some gusty winds that could damage some houses and power lines. But now we'll take things over to more specific look at the weekend forecast with Melissa.
Thanks, Chandler. Yeah, as he was saying, we are looking at drought conditions here in Tallahassee right now, and I've kind of been seeing that pattern for the last couple weeks, past couple months, where Tallahassee's been a bit too dry, not enough rain, going into kind of a drought. But thankfully, we will be having rainfall this weekend and going into the beginning of next week. That'll hopefully provide us some relief from that. So day one outlook is today. Didn't have any rain today, but tomorrow we are seeing rain across a lot of the portion of the southeast, going Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and even northern Florida, so that will provide some relief there. Day 3 outlook, continuing to get some rain in our part of the country and also extending up to the Carolinas and Virginia. So again, rain will be coming to hopefully relieve that weekend rain. We'll start coming through with a warm front and then a cold front behind it, where we'll see an increase in temperatures and then a decrease in temperatures behind that. But both those fronts will both provide rain to us, helping with those conditions. It will move through this weekend, and by Sunday, probably be up by the Carolinas, still dumping a little bit of rain on us. But GFS is predicting us to get a decent bit of rain, looking about half an inch to an inch and a half over in our area for Monday, and going into the Euro rainfall, they're looking at even more rainfall for our area. Looking at 3 to 5 inches for Tallahassee, which you may have to watch out for. That may be enough to cause some flooding in some low-lying areas, maybe a little flash flooding, so just keep an eye out for that. Depending on what we have will depend on what we see. But we're going to turn things over to Wanique and look at a completely different portion of the country.
Thank you, Melissa. We are actually going to talk about orographic lifting. I'm very excited to share this with you all. We're going to have a brief educational segment. So what exactly is orographic lifting? Well, orographic lifting is a type of lifting mechanism. What happens is an air mass is forced by terrain to lift to a higher elevation. Once that air mass reaches that highest elevation, we will see possibly the highest relative humidity value, sometimes at 100%, and that moisture will condense out on the windward side of that mountain, and on the leeward side, conditions are much drier and cooler than they are on the windward side. Now, this air mass tends to cool down and dry out on that leeward side, and this causes a windward wet side and a leeward dry side. So this is an orographic lifting model, and you can see, as I was talking about this lifting mechanism, you can see that moist air will rise until the top of the mountain, and we will see a LCL, which brings a lot of moisture, and that rain will condense out. Now, when that rain condenses out on the windward side, the leeward side ends up being drier and cooler than what it originally started with. So you can see right here on this graphic right here, we are going to see that that windward side brings in that moisture, and on the leeward side you can see it's much drier than what we originally started with. And this is a really good representation of orographic lifting. We see this rain on the windward side, and on the leeward side is much drier. But now I'm going to take it over to Elizabeth for another look at our local.
Thank you so much for that great explanation. So we're going to take it back to our look at Doak Campbell Stadium. Live look right now. The sun is starting to set as we see those clouds move through. It is 63 here in Tallahassee, partly cloudy. Winds north-northwest at 3 miles per hour. Looking at our cameras across the area, we see basically the same story everywhere with the clouds. St. George Island was looking a little nicer earlier, but we're starting to see the muggy conditions and the storms make their way towards us. But today we had nothing to worry about as far as rain goes. The radar was looking pretty clear up until about this time. And our current temperatures across the Big Bend, we're sitting at 65 here in Tallahassee, upper 50s in southern Georgia, and 57 in Quincy, and 63 down at the coast in Apalachicola. Tonight, we're starting to see those temperatures drop. 48 here in Tallahassee, 50 in Bainbridge, 48 in Thomasville, and 50 in Apalachicola as we start to see the the muggier conditions and the storms come through. Tonight, because of those clouds, our viewing conditions of the moon are going to be a little bit on the harder side to see, but it does not hurt to go and look. Our sun had set about 15 minutes ago at 6:03. And then our future radar, here we go into tonight. We're seeing those clouds move through. And then we see these storms to our north, and this is about tomorrow afternoon. And then here we are at Saturday at this time. Tomorrow, we're starting to see some lighter showers come through, but then we see these red shadings over to our west, which is going to be our stronger storms that we'll be seeing on Sunday. Tomorrow's forecast, it's going to be pretty cool tomorrow. 65 here in Tallahassee, 61 in southern Georgia as we see the rain come through, and 64 in Quincy and 65 in Monticello. Right now, nothing to be concerned with about our local Tallahassee airport, as well as our major airports, nothing to be concerned about as far as delays go. Our coastal conditions, beautiful in Panama City Beach right now. It's a little breezy, winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and our UV index is 0 right now, so it's a very nice time to go out and not worry about getting sunburned. It is 64 there, and the water is 62, a little bit chilly. And here we have our 7-day forecast. We're starting to see that rain move into this weekend in cooler conditions beginning at the beginning of the week, and we could possibly see some 30s as our lows and highs not reaching 60. Now I'm going to pass it off to Chandler to talk about sports.
That's right. Now let's have some fun talking about some weekend sports. Men's basketball goes and plays Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh tomorrow at 3 p.m. We'll actually see pretty standard conditions across the area, 36 to 35 degrees between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. thanks to those clouds keeping them from cooling off. It will be pretty brisk and overall not great conditions, but hey, you're inside an arena, it won't matter as much. However, for the women's basketball, we have a decent amount of precipitation in the forecast from 2 to 6 p.m. for when they play on Sunday, and we could see a little bit of wintry precip mixed into this forecast as well, and that could play a role in transportation as everybody tries to get to the arena. Again, just looking at Saturday right now, we see a lot of those clouds building in, and that's kind of what the story is for the men's basketball. And of course, stay more in touch if you are visiting, and stay in touch with that wintry precip if you're wanting to watch the women's basketball game. As for our swimming and diving team, which is going to Gainesville, Florida, they will have a little bit better conditions, about 30 degrees warmer conditions in the low 60s from noon to 4 p.m. for these awesome athletes. So hopefully they can enjoy that weather as well after they're done with their competition. So if you are trying to get out to Gainesville, it'll be pretty normal conditions, kind of the same as what we have here, with just a few clouds building in towards the afternoon hours, and we'll see some showers start to build in later on that evening once the sun is set. As for men's tennis, we can expect, again, pretty cloudy conditions in Tallahassee, 60s overall, with some showers starting to build in the later hours. And with women's, well, we'll see if that actually plays out, because we're expecting a lot of rain throughout the mid-morning to early afternoon time. Temperatures, of course, will be in the 60s, low 70s, but with that rain, we'll see if it actually takes place. As for future radar, again, kind of showing that Saturday pattern, we have that northerly flow, and then we have some of these clouds, but we start to see it shift as this system comes out from the southwest and provides a little bit of precipitation starting Saturday evening. As for the NFL, we'll also have some interesting games. We have a divisional round with Jags at Chiefs, where there's going to be a lot of precipitation, and the temperatures are going to be in the 30s. Could actually see a chance of snow showers, but it'll be on the edge as to whether or not they actually see any wintry precipitation. Right now, it's looking more like rain, but it could be snow as well. And for the Giants and Eagles, the weather will be much more behaved overall, so they'll probably be a bit better at playing that football game just because they won't have to deal with the elements. But Melissa, now we'll toss things off to you to take a look around town.
That's right, we're going to take one last look around town, see what's in store for the next couple days. Local radar still looking clear, no rainfall, but that cloud cover is beginning to set in. Maybe keep our temperatures a little warmer tonight, we'll see. Coming into our future radar, cloud cover is going to continue. We're going to start seeing that rainfall in the next 24, 48 hours coming through and continuing into the beginning of next week, having heavy rainfall to the coast on Sunday. Overnight, 55 degrees in the morning, at 8 p.m., at night, and going down to 49 by 2 a.m. So we're kind of in that pattern. You got to use your heat in the morning, but you got to turn on your air in the afternoon. So we're getting into that crazy pattern for the Florida this time of year. But if you're planning on walking your dog in the morning, if they don't have much of a coat, you may want to throw on a sweater on them just to keep them warm. It's going to be a bit cool. Or you can wait till 11 o'clock when it warms up if your dog can hold it that long. For our Saturday drive cast, you just want to take a drive around town, enjoy your day outside. Roll those windows down. 61 degrees at 9 a.m., 73 at noon, 76 at 3 p.m. So again, seeing those nicer conditions. Moving into the later afternoon, getting into better conditions, and still seeing partly cloudy conditions. Airport delays currently clear for Tallahassee, no concerns there. And also for the rest of the country, as far as we can tell, no major delays, everything's looking good to go. We may see some changes as we do have that system move in, but for the foreseeable future, we are looking at good flight conditions if you're planning on flying out this weekend. For tonight, not the greatest stargazing conditions, but you might still be able to see the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper out there. 2% waning crescent, fair conditions, sunset at 6:03, so we have seen the sunset already, and sunrise will be at 7:34 p.m. or a.m. Starting to get those longer days again, starting to get out of our time of year where we have very little daylight. For our weekend forecast, Saturday 65, a low of 47, warming up as that warm front comes through, dumping a bunch of rain, 74 and 53. Cooling back down as that cold front comes through, the beginning of the week going down to 62 on Monday, 67 on Tuesday, and we'll even see 50s on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and lows in the 30s, so make sure you keep your jackets out. It's going to get a little bit chilly, but that's all we have for you all tonight. We're going to turn things over to Elizabeth at our closing desk.
Thank you so much. So yeah, the moral of the story for this weekend and going into next week is going to be that rain that's coming in this weekend. And if the forecast models really do, if the rainfall is actually what the forecast models say, flooding is going to be a big issue, especially in the low-lying areas of the Tallahassee area. So just to be safe, we would like to make sure that you are not driving in these road conditions, and just making sure that you are staying safe during this weather. Also, it is supposed to cool down a little bit next week back to our normal average conditions, which will be very nice, but I would, at least for me, I do get cold very easily. So I would like to recommend possibly a jacket and, just staying inside if you don't have to go outside, because I know at least with the Floridians, we don't really like the cold. But yeah, we have a exciting weather weekend happening this weekend, as well as sports. You can follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather, and like us on Facebook, FSU Weather as well. And if you would like to watch us live on YouTube, and if you're doing that right now, thank you. It is youtube.com/FSU Weather, and send us some of your weather pictures at FSU Weather on Instagram, as well as our TikTok, FSU Weather. That is a new thing that we are starting now. And thank you for watching our Friday edition of FSU Weather. We'll see you next week.